Hey friends, welcome to the show. This is November and Beyond, and I'm Dave Kirkpatrick, of course. Today I have an interesting show for you. We're going to talk to some folks in the studio. I have some organizers and some activists who I met out doing work in the field and at one of their events, and we're going to have a little conversation about their organization and what they do. The young ladies are from ESVOC, which is End Sexual Violence on Campus. Yeah, they're going to tell us all about what they do and what else. I guess we don't have a whole lot of agenda other than that, so I think without much fuss, we'll just get right on to the show and introduce our guests. Welcome, everybody. How are you guys? And would you tell us your names, just going around?
Yeah, my name's Lorian.
My name's Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
And my name's Hazel.
Hazel, right. And so, yeah, welcome to the show and welcome to the studio. And I'm glad to have you here today. And we were talking earlier just beforehand, and it's going to be sort of just a casual conversation. I guess I'd like to know, as much information as you guys can share with us about what you do and how you got started and that sort of stuff. And I think maybe how you got started is a perfect place to begin the show. Who wants to take that on?
Yeah. I guess I can take this one. So the summer before my junior year, so that's 2019, I believe. I was doing kind of an independent survey project just to interview girls and young women around the Monadnock region, just about what life was like as a young woman in the Monadnock region. So no specific aim, no specific outcome intended. And after about 80 survey responses, these were interview type surveys. So it was like face-to-face. I got to have pretty good conversations with some young women. One or two of the questions aimed at sexual violence, sexual harassment. Those kind of stuck out to me in the analysis period, the after the fact, where I was kind of looking back at things, trying to draw patterns. As being quite damning, because almost all of the responses were indicative of a huge problem in the region, which is kind of surprising considering a lot of people have this mentality where it's like we're protected, we're kind of in this rural pocket where none of those bad things happen, because we usually talk about it in the context of college or Hollywood or like corporate sexual harassment. So hearing this was kind of shocking and kind of sparked me to think about why it might be this way, any loopholes in legislation or cultural setbacks that we might be experiencing specific to the region. And after that point, I was able to come up with a few goals, a couple of trends that I saw specifically in state legislation regarding the statute of limitations for reporting sexual violence, as well as curriculum. So consent, sex ed curriculum, standards in New Hampshire and across the country, and just the silence in general, this kind of attitude, like I had mentioned before, this rural exclusivity where we think that we're safe, but maybe we're not so, and this kind of perpetuates the problem. And from there is really just building the group. So I enlisted the help of a couple of close friends, tried to get some voices from different areas of the school that we go to, and yeah, it took off from there.
Interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we are often thinking of ourselves into some little bubble where things that we see on TV and things that affect the rest of the world are just not around here. It's not problematic enough or something. It's I did find it interesting. I went to Conval all of my years. And was a young man, a long time ago when things were a lot different and behaviors were a lot different. And, there was I think that younger folks have a tremendous window into what's going on in the world and how to connect yourselves to, and how we connect ourselves in the community to what's going on that didn't exist before. So that's an interesting insight there. And then you mentioned curriculums about what's being taught in school, and that's all changed as well.
Yeah.
So, who else has something to add to the conversation here?
I was actually one of the people that Reagan interviewed in like her original like survey of the region. And I was just kind of interested in like helping Reagan out with what she was doing, and then I was kind of following what ESVOC was doing at its very start, and that was more, they were targeted, their mission I guess was to start the group for this event in April, or this month of events in April, which is Sexual Violence Awareness Month. And then they planned a ton of stuff, and I was really excited to go because I wasn't in the group yet. And then it all got canceled because of COVID. And so kind of the group was like, oh, what do we do now? And at that point, which was the start, like the spring, late spring of last year, I think, I reached out to Reagan, and I decided that I wanted to join in. And I think since then, we've gotten to do a lot of things in the region that I never kind of imagined that we'd be able to. So it's been really incredible, and I think I'm happy with like what we've done so far, and also like the opportunities that I see for the group in the future as well. Yeah,
neat. So you were actually a participant in the survey, and that's what connected you two together? Yeah,
I mean, we've known each other for a long time, because we all go, I mean, Hazel's actually been in the region. She got into the region more recently than we've been, but I've been in school with Reagan since middle school, and now we all go to the same high school. So.
Wow. And then, so Hazel, you're the newcomer here, and then how did you get connected to these
So
folks?
I moved here in August of 2019, so wasn't able to participate in the survey, but I remember seeing like the Instagram for ESVOC popping up and being like, oh my gosh, this exists. Because I didn't really know anyone in the group yet, and then I was like sharing their stuff on social media and like liking all their pictures and being like, this is so cool. I'm so happy we have this resource. And then in October-ish, around mid-October during 2020, one of the other girls in our group, Ayla, she reached out to me and she was like, hey, I would love for you to join. I've seen your social media posts and stuff, and like, have you been following us? And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll attend a meeting. And ever since that, I've been participating and giving back to the community through ESVOC. And yeah, I couldn't be happier about it.
Nice. That's really a great connection. And I think the social media, sort of to my previous point about we have the window now into the whole world, and you can see what other people are doing. And you can actually learn a lot about people just by what they like and what they post. And I've been recruited and noticed as well, and I've noticed others who are of similar mindsets, and I've actually had people say, oh, now I've seen your Facebook page, and I see where you stand, and I know what you're about, because I'm not terribly subtle all the time about my opinions.
You shouldn't be.
That it's important to be involved in that stuff and to like and share and support causes that way, and that really helps get the message out. As I'm doing promos and things for people, they always like them, and they're like, hey, great work. And I always think, where's the share? Like it, share that.
Yeah.
So did ESVOC then get started, was it in 2019?
Yes, the initial movement was started in 2019, and like Lauren had mentioned, the first goal was, centered around, the first project was centered around the goals that I created like after researching some of the loopholes. And the project was this month of April that was eventually canceled. We had 24 events planned for the month of April 2020, and they were all canceled. The worst part is that some of the like merchandise we ordered has like April 2020. We've like tried to like slide them in over the past few months. Just don't look at that date.
And our email is also still April 20.
Yeah, or it might just be April, which is lucky. But for so long, like,
April.
We were stuck with that. But I think Lauren kind of mentioned after those events were canceled, we had like such a huge opportunity to kind of like take a step back and be like, okay, how can we work from here? What is the best way to strategize and mobilize as young people? And I think one of the like most powerful things about our organization in particular is that we are so Conval and Monadnock community specific. The issue obviously isn't specific to the region, but our organizing is, in the sense that the curriculum that we're building is, mindful of statistics from the region, from the school, from like this particular age group. All of the organizing we do on social media, a lot of our following obviously is from the Monadnock region. And so I think 100% of the volunteers that work with us are from the Monadnock region. I think. No, I'm like doubling
Close
back.
enough.
With people outside of the region, but like our main, like people that we work with are here.
Yeah. And I think that just provides a really nice resource, like directly in the community for people to take advantage of.
And I think another cool thing you mentioned, like that after like last summer, we were able to like kind of step back and like look at what we were doing and like figure out what we wanted to do next. And that was the summer when George Floyd was murdered, and there was lots of like police abolition protesting, and we were able to look at our like punitive justice system and our policing systems, and then like look at how that connected with sexual violence. And so one of our goals got added recently, which was restorative justice and looking at that. And so I think that was another key part of just like this past year and like how we've kind of shifted and like what our goals have become now.
Yeah. Is there a website that on which you have the goals and your list of?
We have a website. It's svocnh.org.
Yeah.
And we also have our Instagram, which is svocnh, and we have a Twitter and a Facebook and an email, and that's all on the website that you can.
So
access.
ESVOC, and if people are searching for that, they'll find you.
Yeah,
out there.
usually, and it usually has like NH with it in New Hampshire because of the way we're so centered here. But yeah.
I was able to search my email for ESVOC, and there was nothing else popped up. It was easy for me to find yourselves on this machine.
Yeah.
Let's see. What kind of organization is ESVOC at this point? Is it a nonprofit organization? Is it a club working on that? Where are you guys at?
Yeah, so we are not like a federally classified nonprofit, like the 50 whatever C, any of those numbers, letters, combinations. Just because we aren't old enough and we don't have legal representation to be able to fill out that paperwork. But we do work, completely through donated funds. All of the mutual aid projects that we work on, we are capable of doing those because we get donated funds. And at, like, organizational wise, like the way we structure our organization is like very horizontal. There's really no like roles of leadership or president or anything like that. We kind of take any volunteer that can show up to a meeting once or twice. And we enlist all the help we can get because, power to students, power to young people.
That's great. I think there's probably some strength in that. Like sometimes you organize yourself into a point where you wonder who's allowed to do what, and did I step on somebody's toes when I said we were going to do this or when I spoke out or something. So I don't think there's any problem at all with starting out like that and getting more organized as you go. I've set up nonprofits that were a nonprofit that had no money and no obligations, and not more than a bunch of volunteers with their own toys and tools to play with, and that wasn't terribly complicated. I would say don't get legal or business advice from me, but it's not a huge step to get yourself set up that way.
Yeah. Well, I think another like huge element of like how we classify as a group or the type of organization that we are. Like one of the biggest decisions we made was to separate ourselves from being like a school group or a club or any like greater organization, subgroup or anything like that. Because it just allowed us the freedom to be able to say and do what we wanted to say and do over the past year and a half. Without any type of overhead, control or censorship of what we can do, especially because so much of what we're saying is critical of the way schools and administrations, institutions are handling certain issues. I don't think that certainly hasn't meant for us that we aren't cooperating within the schools or within certain places where we want to see change, because that's obviously an instrumental part of what we do. But I think we've had a lot of freedom being kind of our independent, volunteer-based organization.
Excellent.
And because we are in the school and like a lot of our following are Commonwealth students and people in the region, there's definitely people outside of it as well. That's like the majority. And so we're able to like take resources that already exist, like NAB Center of Violence Prevention, and then like the Conval Counseling Department and like the stuff they offer. And we're able to like kind of be another way that students can access that stuff, because a lot of times it's not as advertised as it should be. And so like we're able to work with Conval, and we've talked with like several of their teachers on our podcast, and like we've worked with them on our curriculum, and like talking about mental health services and stuff like that. But we're also like Reagan said, we're not really like bound to like listen to what they want us to say necessarily, so we can kind of have some freedom in that, and we don't have to like deal with their bureaucracy at all.
Yeah. Is the school fairly friendly to what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think so. I like, so far they've been very, like, they want to listen, they want to help us. I think that there's definitely some things that we have to communicate more and work with them more on, because obviously there's some like generational like separation of like understanding. So like they have a different understanding of what the issue is than maybe we do. But so far I think that we've been able to do some really cool stuff with them.
Yeah, and teachers have reached out to like me personally and been like, oh my gosh, wow, you're a part of this. Can I get involved? Or like, can you tell me more about it? So teachers as individuals care a lot, which shows a lot of support, which
I had some wonderful teachers at Conval, and it's really important when you get support from them and see a good role model, and they have faith in you, and it's an important way to build relationships that last a long time and then reach out into the community. Let's see, on the topic of schools, and I was going to ask if you get much flack there, but maybe a segue to, I know you have a program, I believe, called Shade, that might be a place where, I don't know, if are people raising a brow here or there. Would you tell us a little bit about what that is, and I guess connect it to that. Is there any trouble, or what's the feedback been on the program?
Yeah, I guess I can start with this one. So I guess this would go back to the discussion we were having about having to cancel all of our April events last year. We were doing a lot of fundraising for those events to be able to, pay speakers, rent spaces, do audio equipment, stuff like that. But when everything was canceled, obviously we had like a mass of funds that we needed to put towards the work in some capacity, and to be able to continue doing our work, we needed to like be able to maintain these funds and trust, like instill trust in the community that like we will be using these for our mission, and with the help of some friends that organized with the Rural Youth Union. We came up with the idea of a sexual healthcare anonymous distribution effort, which is SHADE, the acronym. So cool. And through that program, we kind of aim to purchase and distribute sexual healthcare as well as menstrual healthcare products to any people, any communities in need. And we do that anonymously via this online chat box that we use, where you can basically tell us what you need, give us a drop-off or pick-up location that's safe for you, time, stuff like that, and we make it happen. I don't know if you guys want to expand a little more.
Yeah, I think you got like just the general gist of it. Something that is cool about Shade is that, like Reagan said, like it's a good way for us to put our money back into the community that we've raised, especially since we haven't been able to do as many events as we're wanting to at the beginning of ESVOC's creation because of COVID. But so far, it's been really cool to be able to like just give people these things that are, one, there's a lot of stigma around buying products like condoms or pads and tampons or birth control or Plan B. Like I went to CVS, I think one day to buy an order for someone, and I went to get Plan B for them. And it's in CVS, it's like in the family planning aisle, but it's in this plastic box and you can't access it unless you go up to the counter and you have them unlock it for you. And you kind of have to carry this like big, like clear box through the store, which is like, if I was someone who like, but felt that kind of like shame about buying a product like that, I think that there would be like, it's hard to do. And it's also like $50 if you get it. Like a brand name product like that. So it's pretty inaccessible, like in a social way and in like a monetary way. So I I am glad that we're able to provide that for people.
Yeah, boy, the difference between having access to something or having an availability and then making it truly, really accessible. And I can tell you, until last year, buying certain products, even when there's nobody in the store and you're like, could I have, it's hard. Yeah, that's really interesting, and I really appreciate that. What you're doing with this money helps the people who need it, and probably helps the people most in need. I think, that it's a society of haves, and not everybody has as much. And I like that it goes really where it's needed first and foremost. I wouldn't think people reach out to you folks for, free stuff. It's the people who need it who are asking.
I do think that there's like one thing that we want to work on more is like making the program even more accessible, because it is like a very like online based thing. So you do have to right now you have to access the internet, and you have to go on our website, and you have to contact us, and to know about it right now you probably have to be on a social media. So really our plans are to spread more flyers, get just in the area, and in Keene and the Jaffrey area, and kind of spreading it around rather than just in this Peterborough on Instagram. And then we want to get in contact with more businesses, so there can be kind of more of a drop-off pickup location perhaps. So people, because right now so far we've done mostly dropping off at people's houses, just put it next to their mailbox. But that is not always an option for people. So I think and we always have very inconspicuous packaging just to be careful. But just really trying to make it as accessible as possible is really important to us.
Great. And is the community in general pretty supportive of this? I mean, I can imagine there are people who would have some sort of problem with it. I mean, I know they exist. I don't know why, but are you getting any problems?
So far, we haven't gotten a ton of backlash.
No,
I don't think.
I think so, yeah.
We've definitely recently. I don't know if Hazel, you could talk about this. Our Discord.
Yeah.
Oh, Discord. It sounds like there's controversy about to happen here. Okay.
We wanted to get more involved with the community itself, our followers, and have their suggestions heard and have them a part of the conversation. So we started a Discord, and at first we were like, oh my gosh, nothing's gonna go wrong. No one's gonna misuse this. But then almost 5 trolls came in, started being like, oh, whatever, sending memes at wrong times in a sexual violence group chat.
Oh.
So it was kind of just insensitive itself, and that's kind of the only slip up we've had with the public so far.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's the only one, but you can never be sure.
Now, does that mean that you have a hard time, you want some anonymity for people who need your services, but anonymity on the internet is where the trolls live.
Yeah.
We
So.
definitely have people send us inappropriate messages and things like that. And it's it's not the worst thing that could be happening, because obviously we can just delete it and move on. It's better, I guess, to have that than to have people actually giving us pushback in the community when we're trying to do work. So I guess it's not the worst thing.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to turn into one of your, sort of full-time jobs, is if you leave the doors open, you got to, you keep it all clean and get rid of those messages.
Yeah.
And somebody's probably
but
going
I
to work
just
on that.
generally people that need to be there or want to be there are there, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of good faith surrounding what we do, and especially among the people who are accessing our resources or believe in the mission. And it's pretty hard to, out yourself as being pro-sexual violence, because that's just on you. But yeah, I think for the most part, we haven't received a huge amount of backlash. If anything, the most amount of, the most present barrier to our success is any communication we've had with legislators.
Yeah, so. That's definitely been the hardest part.
You've got some legislators on your side, though. I saw we bumped into Amanda Elizabeth Toll at your event.
Wonderful.
Recently.
She's so wonderful.
She was just in the studio, and she's gonna love this, and I know she likes the work that you do. You mentioned a podcast. Is there a place where people would find or be able to talk or find your podcast? Or what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, our podcast is called Consensual. We're on like, the main things like Spotify and Apple Podcast Music, and then on like the little lesser known like
Google
platforms
Podcasts, something, yeah.
Overdrive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's called Consensual. It's just by ESVOC. We've had people in our counseling department. We've had like a social studies teacher talk about like feminism and capitalism on it. We're gonna have our health teachers on it soon, and then we've also had some other people in the community as well. It's just like conversations between members of the group, and so it's really fun. And it's a cool way to have just more conversations with people in our community and be able to share it with people who care.
The reach we have now with the internet, and it's just amazing. I mean, it used to be for us, you would have to go to every town and put up the flyers every place you thought people were going to be, and you really do have some tools at your disposal. We've got just about 2 minutes left, and is there anything you guys would like to touch on briefly that we haven't already?
I guess we didn't. Curriculum is probably a big thing.
I guess I could do one of the bigger projects that we've worked on, it's been like a day one goal, is implementing, I think we mentioned this earlier, a more comprehensive sex and consent education curriculum in schools, specifically CONVAL. And we, this past fall working with a community collaborator. She's a nurse and a PhD student. She's great. Lorian and I, we did a lot of research on how to develop a good curriculum and what should be included. And then we built one that is, it covers what we consider to be most of the bases. I'm sure that we've missed things, but identity, privilege, rape culture, consent, independent and dependent on sexual relationships, boundaries, all of these things, healthy relationships, as well as like sexual violence. And our curriculum is actually going to be implemented in the fall at CONVAL.
That is amazing. There was much discussion about what was and wasn't covered, well, when I was there and ever since, quite honestly. So good for you guys. Well, we are just about out of time. I want to thank you, Lorian, Reagan, and Hazel. I did write it down. Thank you for coming on the show, and I really appreciate the work that you do in the community, and I hope to see you out there doing some more of it, and I'm sure you'll see me. And I hope to have you back on the show at some point. It'd be nice to follow up throughout the year and maybe talk about events that you have coming up and things like that. So
thank you for having
thanks very
us.
much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And for you folks at home, that's it for today. We are going to be taking a little break on the studio shows for a while. I think it is lovely weather. We're going to get out. I'm going to get out and shoot some stuff. We'll see you out there until November and beyond.